Alles klar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to basically share viewpoints on a certain matter that happened in the US. So in the US state of Texas, there was an incident which occurred, I think it was April, beginning of April there, where two students got into an altercation at a track meet. If anybody of you don't know what a track meet is, schools coming together at a neutral stadium and competing in sports and athletics. So what happens is that everybody sets up their tent, their area. There's a designated area for each and every single school. So remember, it's a children's thing. It's a youth high school activities. Children are there, and minors, as you would call them. So I think in South Africa we call it inter-high. We used to have that. I don't know if it still happens with all these dysfunctional schools nowadays, but we used to have the same thing, basically. Different schools coming together, competing, and then there afterwards getting medals and all that. So this happens. What happens was that a young boy named Karmelo Anthony, was allegedly sitting in a tent which belonged to another school. Now he's a 17-year-old, and then that school, in that tent, there was another student from the different school called Austin Metcalf, a Caucasian student, who didn't like it that Karmelo Anthony is right there with their tents. He should be with their other school. So on that note, he asked him to leave, and then after he asked him to leave, Karmelo Anthony allegedly said, "If you touch me, and you'll see what I will do," and all that. Then, as he approached him, he took a knife out of his bag and stabbed him in the chest, stabbed Metcalf in the chest. Now, Metcalf was with his brother. The brother tried to stop the blood and everything, but eventually he passed away. And then Karmelo Anthony ran, and then he was caught by the cops. He admitted to doing it, and then he said that he came up to him first.
To the stabbing Wednesday of a Frisco teenager at a track meet. Our Trevor Sahaki is live at the Frisco Municipal Court with the latest. So, Trevor, do we know what started all of this in the first place?
Well, Karen, we do now. I just got the arrest report for 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony about an hour ago, and I've been going through it since then. Now, moments after he was arrested, Anthony confessed to the stabbing and told police it was in self-defense. Now, Anthony is in jail and charged with that murder. According to the arrest report, this happened around 10 a.m. on Wednesday. A witness told police Anthony was from Centennial High School, but was sitting under the Memorial High School tent. Austin Metcalf, the victim, told him to move. The witness told police Anthony said, quote, "Touch me and see what happens." Witnesses say Metcalf grabbed or pushed Anthony, who pulled a knife and stabbed him. According to various officers who responded, Anthony said things like, quote, "I was protecting myself," and, quote, "He put his hands on me." Officers also wrote that Anthony said, quote, "I did it," and asked if Metcalf was going to be okay. While officers didn't find the knife on Anthony, they did find blood on his fingers. Officers eventually found the knife in the bleachers. The police report says Metcalf died at the hospital about an hour after being stabbed. His father spoke with CBS News Texas.
My other son, who was there, was holding his hands on the hole, trying to save his life. And he told me, "Dad," I looked at him. In his eyes, he was gone. He wasn't breathing. I need my son back, but that's not possible. All I can ask for is just pray.
And we have reached out to Metcalf's mother and his twin brother, but both said they're not ready to speak with us. The district says there were security officers at the track meet and a clear bag policy, but they didn't respond to our questions about metal detectors. Live in Frisco, Trevor Sahaki, CBS News Texas.
Okay, this is this story, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this story has caused a huge racial divide in the US and even the world. It has caused a huge racial divide in that you have members on the Bantu side which are saying, look, that boy he was defending himself. He was defending himself. That guy, Metcalf, shouldn't have came up to him. He shouldn't have manhandled him, as they said. And then on the other hand, we know how boys, on the other hand, the Caucasian side, I will say it, I will just basically brand it, label it like that, because that's how it seems now. That's how they divided it now, even though I don't think that is the case. They're saying, look, no matter what happened, he didn't deserve to be murdered. He didn't deserve to be murdered. That's it. So those are the two opposing camps. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed about the racial issues is that one says this, they always divide it into two camps, Bantu and Caucasian, or Bantu and Asian, or Caucasian against Asian, or Indian, or whatever. So there's no middle ground on which there's no rule of law which is being applied. It's all heated emotions. So what we're going to do now is that I'm not going to say that this person is guilty or this person is not guilty. This person should have done this. This person shouldn't have done that. I'm just going to basically look at what the law states. On the Karmelo Anthony part, and just before I go in, this has always been the case, especially with racial related cases, especially the police and the Bantus in America and everything else. It's the employers, Caucasian or Bantu employee, all these things. It always has to do with the law. But people, during cases, because we like to see the skin color, we say, look, screw the law, let's put it aside. This is how we feel about it. This should have been like this. And the other camp says this should have been like that. And then they come and say, oh no, the law was designed by this group of people. It doesn't really matter. We are subscribing to the law now. We're talking about the law. So here's what I asked, because on the Karmelo Anthony case, they're busy stipulating their stand ground is, no, look, their defense is, look, he was doing it in self-defense. He stabbed him in self-defense. Okay, Metcalf came to him and he grabbed him. And so he had no choice but to take out the knife in his bag and then stab him in the chest because he grabbed him and he told him not to come closer to him. Okay. So now, my question is, what does the state of Texas say about 17-year-old carrying knives? Let's start there. Let's just start right there. The state of Texas, as you can see clearly there, clearly there, in summarizing, states that a 17-year-old is not supposed to carry a knife outside without supervision of an adult. Without supervision of an adult. So you can take your son hunting, that is fine, and then he's carrying his knife because you're observing, he's within your vicinity. So that if something should go wrong, you're most able to handle the matter, the situation. Now, whatever the reason for the law is, that a 17-year-old, firstly, is not allowed to walk around with a knife, either on his personage or within his belongings. That's it. So firstly, that is regarded as a misdemeanor. It's a misdemeanor, and it carries a fine, and it's not serious to the point of being a felony. So there's a difference. Misdemeanor is something it's merely a citation. So it's not as serious as a felony, which is a crime. It's a small little crime. We can simply give you a citation, let you off with a warning and all these things, but a felony is a crime. A felony usually results in an arrest, a serious fine, or both. Imprisonment, a serious fine, or both. So then the law goes on to say that no person, whether an adult or a young person under the age of 18, is allowed to carry a weapon, visible or concealed, on school premises, on a stadium or an event that is sponsored by the school, such as your track meet, such as at your stadium. So basically, and then what is the punishment for that if you are found? The punishment for that, this is what it says. So you see it. So the punishment, this is carrying a weapon concealed, as in your bag or on your person, in such an event, a public event such as a school track meet, is punishable by two. It's regarded as a felony, punishable by 2 to 10 years in prison and $10,000 fine. That's it. So already, this young man, before he even committed murder with that weapon, if he had been caught, he was already gonna be charged with this felony. He was already facing 2 to 10 years in prison. That's the law. That's the law. So regardless of what happened afterwards, he's already committing a criminal act. He's already committed a criminal act. Now we go on and then we say, okay, so now he's already in this situation. He brought a knife. What was the reason for him bringing a knife? Well, we saw the reason. He wanted to defend himself. But he ended up killing somebody. Were there other teachers, probably other security people who, if he felt he was being threatened, he couldn't call in and say, look, I advised this man to leave me alone and he doesn't want to leave me alone? Were there other people nearby, elder adults, who could come to his aid and say, hey, look, Mr. Metcalf, leave this gentleman alone. Leave Mr. Anthony alone. He wants to be left in peace. So the reasoning behind it is you bring a knife, already committing a crime, that's a felony, and then you go and kill somebody with it. And then the question is, had you not brought in that knife, would that person have been killed? Would that person have been killed? That's the question. If Anthony hadn't brought in that knife, if he had obeyed the law, if he had obeyed the law and kept the knife away from the premises where there are children, if he had been a law-abiding citizen, would Metcalf still be alive today? It's the same as us saying you stole a gun, and then now after you stole a gun, somebody wants to say, e.g., ask you where you got the gun from, and they're antagonizing you, and then you shoot them, and then you say you were doing it in self-defense, Or you steal a car. You steal a car. And then there afterwards, you steal a car, and then somebody's busy chasing you, or somebody tries to drive you in a weird way. They drive you in a horrible way, and then you end up bumping into another car, and then you blame that car and you say, look, this is the person who's responsible. Firstly, you stole a car. You broke the law by stealing the car. Had you not stolen that car, would that incident have happened? That is the question. So we can go all in all about how he was in defense, he was defending himself, he had to stand up for himself, and all that. And then we overlook everything else. He was sitting in the wrong tent. And we used to have that. You can't be sitting in our group. Who are you, man? Like, if this is my space, our school space, and then you are sitting here from another school, why don't you go to your school? That's the question. And he knows it very well. Why don't you just go to your school? School tent. You go to your school tent, that's where you should be. If you don't have a school tent, sorry, man. Tough luck. Go sit under the stadium somewhere. But we have every freedom and right to say, we don't want you here. And so afterwards, when we ask you to move, we expect you to move, or else we'll just gently make you move. We'll not even gently, we'll force you to move. So even then, honestly, Metcalf, unfortunately, with grabbing somebody without asking assistance from an elderly person, from an elder, public official, or somebody, a teacher nearby, that's one of the things you could do. He didn't do that because, as they mentioned, he likes to take charge of the situation. Well, but that still doesn't negate the fact that he was killed unnecessarily by somebody who had already committed a crime. That's the story. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions or you have any comments, please hit me up in the comments section. So maybe you might see differently. Maybe you might have seen something which I have not seen. But let me know. And also, ladies and gents, as a father, as a brother, and most importantly, as a human being and a child of the Almighty Father, Creator God, just want to say we send my condolences to the Metcalf family for their great loss, and I hope they do recover, and whatever situation they're in, I hope God does help them through this difficult situation.
Race, identity, and history was incomplete. In Genetic Mirror, Marvin L. Master uncovers the hidden science behind human evolution, identity, and the global racial narrative. From ancient migrations to modern myths such as crime and slavery, this book reveals the raw, uncomfortable, and empowering truths that shape our species. Marvin L. Master is a writer and researcher with a passion for understanding humanity through the lenses of genetics, history, and philosophy. Drawing from a background rooted in both Bantu African heritage and global curiosity, he explores race or denomination not as a dividing line, but as a window in our shared human story. If you're ready to challenge the norm and understand who we really are, comment Mirror for DM link for your copy of the book.